Yo, what's good? What's going on? For people who have time, they doing the Fed chair, the Fed chair Powell. He's basically saying that they're not going to raise the federal interest rate anytime soon. So that's a good thing. It means the prices won't shoot up. Stocks shouldn't go down. We'll give it a couple minutes. We'll give it a couple minutes because I don't got a ton of time. I'm really on borrowed time right now. I had some other shit I was supposed to do. My nigga B Magic, if you watching this, just know I'm gonna call you after this. Like I said I was. So we'll give it another minute. Like I said, we know how it always goes. It always starts off with 3 or 4 people, and before we know it, it's a ton of people in here. So I'm not gonna hold y'all up. We'll give it another minute, um, and we'll go over a couple things. A couple new stocks became available today that a lot of people may not know about, and I just want to make sure y'all know about that and kind of revisit some of the stocks that we went over the last couple days. So normally, as usual, if you want to donate, bong, dollar sign, building back. Once again, we giving scholarships out to for the babies one more time. So we're gonna be kicking those scholarships out probably next month, if not the month after that. So man, you know what? Let's get into it. So first off, hope everybody's having a good day. I'm not gonna take up too much of y'all time today. I really truly do have other things to do. Plus, yeah, I got other shit to do. So let's get into it. So there's a couple of different stocks that actually became available to the market today. The first one is Petco. Y'all familiar with Petco? You know, like the dog food store or whatever. It ended up going up like $40 more than it was supposed to. Uh, but you know that is something to look into. I don't. I think they might have overpriced it because it was actually predicted to be a lot smaller than it actually is right now in terms of pricing. Just look it up, but it shot up like $50 more than it was supposed to. So that's one stock that just opened up today. The other stock that just opened up today, what was that? Something that we pretty much all know. Fuck it. All right, I can't remember. If I can remember, I'll get back to it. So let's talk about some of the stocks that's actually since we spoke the other day about how they're doing. So I'm sure you guys seen Simon Property Group. I just spoke about that stock yesterday, and lo and behold, so far today it's up almost 6%. So it was at $88 yesterday, and it's at $94 today. Once again, this stock is predicted to get upwards to about $160. Um, I don't know why it jumped. I have no idea. I think it's a lot of times when stocks go from being a price because they valued themselves, I believe, at like $35 and ended up jumping to like $90. When it gets to the actual point of the price being released, it's really up to the stock market to determine what that price point is actually worth. So, like for instance, like when they did Airbnb last a couple weeks ago when we had spoke about that stock was originally supposed to be at like 50 $60 a pop, and I was watching Bloomberg and they told them what the price point was actually at, and he was so surprised he was speechless, like he didn't know that that's what the price point was going to be. So these guys never really know. They give a price point that they would like for it to be, but it's really up to the market to determine what it's going to end up coming out to be. So I don't know if it's going to be a plus or a minus. I mean, obviously, with COVID going on, a lot of people are accumulating pets, which means that they are investing into Petco. But ultimately, I have no idea. It just opened up today, so I don't want to speculate. But Simon Property Group, as you guys have probably seen, is doing really well. Um, the other stock I spoke to y'all about, both Micron Technology, which once again, those initials are MU. That's doing really good. Intel went up another 3% so far today. So if you would have took my advice on Intel 2 days ago, then you already would have made about 11% return on investment. And as I said, Micron's doing good. The Calithera Biosciences. If you guys were here for the last one a couple days ago, we spoke briefly about that as well. That's also up another 6%. A lot of the reasons that these stocks are up, you will notice that Tesla and Apple stocks are down right now. Uh, One of the reasons why a lot of these stocks are up is because of later on this afternoon or this evening. in the East Coast time. Joe Biden is going to be releasing his stimulus package. It's predicted to be upwards to about $2 trillion. It's going to not only give us that $2,000 a head, but it's also going to give the state and local areas some extra billions of dollars. So anytime that the market sees that you're going to get a lump sum of money, they know that that money is going to get spent into a lot of these industries. So the market going up is a reflection of that. Any advice on buying a house? Man, it's a seller's market, bro. I don't know if this is really the best time to be looking into buying property. um, I would wait, if we're being honest. Like, there's not a lot of earning potential if you buy property at this point in time, just because um, they're not really paying attention to what's going on in terms of the moratorium. Because they keep pushing this moratorium shit back. But anybody that's using the moratorium, when that time comes, you're gonna get evicted because you're basically taking months and years on not making payments. That shit eventually has to get paid. So once that does happen, it's going to be a lot of renters that's going to be out of house and home. So they're not keeping that in account. They're acting like shit is just regular. So the market has actually gone up since this COVID shit then hit. So if you didn't buy a house 2 years ago, then I would rent unless you have intentions on renting that property out. If you're just buying it for the sake of buying it, my wife wants to buy a new house, and I keep telling her this ain't the time. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're in a fortunate position where we got in this house at the time that we did. But if you buy a house now, then there's no real wiggle room for earning potential. So, unless if you're renting it out, by all means, do your thing. Like, I would never tell somebody not to get property that you're going to rent out, because that residual income is lovely. So, yeah, that would be my advice. So, I want to go through some of the. Well, let me see if there's any other stocks that we went over that is doing good. Pretty much every stock that I told y'all about is cooking right now. But yeah, once again, the Intel, um, as well as the Micron Technology stock still doing good. Now, there's a couple ETFs, which ETFs, which, once again, for those who don't know, is exchange traded funds. And just to reiterate, that's normally when you have a group of stocks all in one stock as opposed to paying for one individual stock. It's a lot safer of an investment. You know, just so you are aware, they are actually in the process of setting up um, what we call a space stock, a space ETF. So if you are invested in any kind of space, you know, stuff like Virgin Galactic, shit like that, but they're going to be making an ETF specifically for space travel. So, that's something to kind of look into. One other thing to look into is Viacom. For those who don't know, who live under a rock, Viacom is one of those. It's actually the biggest cable media outlet. They own BET, MTV, CBS, pretty much the majority of the cable world. They're actually creating a streaming platform in 2021 called Paramount Plus, and it's going to give them access to MTV shit, basically all the stuff that they own, all on one platform. They kind of have to do this. Cable is dead, so you have to make sure that you are keeping up with the Joneses. And because of that, that stock has gone up today. I expect that stock to continue to go up because it's not only going to provide new shows from these different platforms, but it's also going to have live, broadcasting. And being that they own more cable channels and all these other cable channels put together, then they should continue to do pretty well for themselves. So I'm gonna go ahead and go over some of these questions that was asked of me because there's not really a ton of news, even though the stock market is going up right now. Like I said, it's because of this whole Biden announcement. So that's kind of just what it is. So we'll go over a couple of questions. So shout out to my nigga Henny, Uncle Henny. He asked if a person said that we're willing to invest $500 today. What would you suggest? I actually get this question a lot, where people say, "Oh, I got 1,000, I got 2,000, I got 5,000. What should I invest into?" That's really a layered answer because there's different forms of investing. You have the aggressive, you have the moderate, you have the passive. And really it's just about how aggressive you want to go into some shit, because as we spoke about before, individual stocks are considered aggressive stocks because, like Tesla, it can go up 30 bucks a day, it can go down 50 bucks a day. Like, it's really unpredictable. So for the people who are the scary type who see Bitcoin going down 5,000 in one day and pull out immediately. This isn't for you. Like this type of stock isn't for you because you're going to always be worried about if it goes down or goes up. Just remember, you don't lose money until you actually sell the stock. So if you have that mindset, aggressive probably isn't for you. The more moderate is what we consider ETFs, the exchange traded funds, where something like the S&P 500, where you have like the top stocks overall, the Disneys, the Coca-Colas, all that good shit, Tesla, all that good shit. Those don't have the same earning potential, but they also don't have the same losing potential. So that's the more moderate type of investor. And then the passive investor are the people who basically they're considered penny stocks. Like you pretty much never lose, but the money just like you have to constantly put money into the stock for it to make sense. Most times those fall into the line of mutual fund investments. They have what you call money market mutual funds, which work similar to a savings account, besides the fact that there's actual interest to it. Not a real big interest, maybe like 1%, 2%. But that would be what we call passive investing. It's something where you're constantly putting money into it. It's not a huge return, but you're never going to lose. It's just never going to happen because that particular form doesn't take any risk. So once again, to answer the question of what you should invest into, the first thing you need to ask yourself is how aggressive you want to invest. And if you know that you the scary type, and every time the money go down that you're going to be scared, don't waste your time with that. So in order to know, so if we're talking passive, let's say money market mutual funds. If we're talking moderate, let's say the S&P 500 or the Nasdaq or something along those lines, maybe the Dow Jones. Or if we're talking individual stocks, I would say Bitcoin, because as you can see, Bitcoin is going back up today, and it is still predicted to hit upwards to $100,000. It is predicted to hit upwards to 100,000 by the end of this year. But once again, when you have a $5,000 loss one day, it could make one nervous. So just once again, those are the things to kind of keep in mind in terms of the levels of investing and shit like that. So let me see. Remember, there was one other one. Oh, okay. Biscuit, I see you on here. So before paying attention to your tips, I was only invested in mutual funds. It was safe, but I wasn't seeing any money move. Yeah, because you have to constantly put money into it. It's one of those things. Like I have a money market mutual fund account. It's something that me and my wife put money into every single month. It's really more of a safekeeping for her. If it was up to me, I would put all this shit in stocks. But if you're married or if you have, if you're thinking long term, that's one of those things that you put money into for basically the rest of your life to make sure you always have something to you know dig into. So Biscuit, I do see your question, is it worth it to pay a stockbroker? um that's really up to you. There are some people who don't have the time to do the research that I do, or even have the time to even listen to this type of conversation. Most people work 9 to 5. And for the people who still want to be involved in the stock market, it is important to have somebody that you can pay to give you the best advice on what's going to work best for you. And if you have somebody who's directly connected to the actual Wall Street, then you definitely would probably, it would definitely benefit you to have a stockbroker, because stockbrokers, one thing about stockbrokers, especially the ones who work directly at Wall Street, they have access to a particular system that gives them insight on trends before people like me and you get access to them. For people like me and you kind of have to do your research, kind of connect the dots, make sure you're really in tune with that particular industry to know if it's worth investing into. Once again, stockbrokers actually have systems that give them these trends without them having to do heavy research on them. So, if you want somebody who can actually provide you that type of insight, then by all means. Um, it's a per person thing. I wouldn't do it because I have enough time to where I can do my own research, but not everybody is that fortunate. So if you don't have the time and you want professional advice from somebody who is connected that way, then by all means, I don't see any reason why you shouldn't. you know but I'm not doing it. So um but to each his own. What are some recommended penny stocks for beginners? Penny stocks. So Well, I would say, I see. I don't really get too deep into penny stocks. If we're talking, see, penny stocks doesn't necessarily mean a cheap stock. It's just something that gradually gains over the course of time. Um, in terms of penny stocks, I don't know. I mean, because things that I thought were penny stocks, they dropped like everything else back when they. I just think if you're talking passive investments, then I would just say stick to something like a money market mutual fund. I think that would be the best way because at least that way, um, you can just get an understanding of how, because even money market mutual funds put their money into the stock market. It's just like a government stock, like some like the American dollar type of shit. But once again, like for me, that would be the smartest route to go if you even have the mindset of a penny stock. I don't really invest in penny stock, so I can't really. But one thing about me, if you've seen this before, I'm not going to give information on shit that I don't know about. I only really speak on the shit that I do research on. So for me, I would just advise that if you have the mindset of doing passive investing, do something like money market mutual funds, because at least that way, um, not only can you track it the same way, but you also have access to pull this shit out like a savings account. So it's a lot more accessible to get money. What are some good tools for researching stocks? Listen, man. You know, as we speak, I'm looking at Bloomberg as we speak. This is something that I do. I look at Bloomberg. I look at Yahoo Finance. I look on CNBC. I look at Fox Business. I paid for Motley Fool, which is a website that gives insight on stocks. Um, you know, there's a million different ways, man. I think at the end of the day, if you go about, and to be honest, I wasn't even planning on doing this shit this long, but if you plan on doing this, I would just say if you do the research on all these different platforms as well as Robinhood, because Robinhood gives good insight as well. But as long as you're doing your research, any stock that you have interest in, there's more than enough details about this stock to know if it's something that's worth investing into or not. So Google, brother. I mean, I would just say that's your best option. But just staying in tune with these websites. Don't spend so much time on First Take. Spend more time on Bloomberg. You know what I'm saying? Spend more time on CNBC. Spend more time on some of these other platforms. Like I literally have two different phones. One for one stock website, one for another. So that's what I have to do to make sure that I'm tapped in. As well as this computer that you're looking at, I normally would be looking at some type of stock shit on here as well. So, that's what I have to do. Um, I mean, it's just about research, man. The information is out there, but you just have to dig deep. In terms of the research and tools that they have, you ain't got access to it. It's the reason why these guys go to school for it. It gives them access to get that information. So, yeah, man, I'm out of here. That's pretty much it for today. Um, just keep in mind, just make sure y'all pay attention to the what's going on with Joe Biden later on today. If he does say this 1.52 trillion thing, realistically, it's going to pass through probably either the day of him getting inaugurated or the day after, because once again, the Senate is ran by the Democrats, so there's really nothing to stop him. So just keep an eye out for that, because if he does say something along those lines, the stock market's probably going to shoot up tomorrow. We should have a really, really good day tomorrow. And even with the unemployment rate, because really the unemployment rate is fucked up. Over 900,000 people actually filed for unemployment over the last week, which is not good. It is the worst since August. But the only reason why the market is doing good is because people are seeing, okay, Joe Biden is going to put some money into it. So even with that unemployment, people are going to still be taken care of. So that's the mindset of investors as to why that unemployment rate hasn't really fucked with the market today. So it might have been a good thing for Joe Biden. I think he might have purposely did this on Thursday just to overshadow the unemployment rate, because I'm sure he already knew about it. But if whether he meant to do it or not, it was a smart idea. So yeah, man, just make sure you guys tap in with that. I'll be dropping a new episode of my actual podcast tomorrow. I actually interviewed this girl who got into OnlyFans a couple months ago. Already made 8 grand her first couple months. So make sure y'all tap into that, because that is an industry that is getting to the bag. So once again, make sure you subscribe to the page if you guys ever want to donate. Once again, you can go to the website or you can cash app Building Back. I promise you one day I will provide graphics. You would think with the money I'm making, I should actually have graphics showing this shit, but I'm just not that invested into it. So once again, have a good weekend, y'all. Y'all have a good one.